You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Good evening and welcome to the Paranormal Pop-Up Show on this Friday evening. Can't believe I'm quite doing this, but hey-ho. Tonight in the studio on this Paranormal Pop-Up, I have the lovely Carl Hutchinson. Good evening, Carl.
Good evening, Kerry. How are you?
I'm absolutely fine. And I'm
lovely to talk to you.
Lovely to talk to you too. And I'm also joined in the studio by the lovely Ashley Knibb, who's sorting his headset out at the moment. And I have it on. I have on firm authority that the lovely Jay Lynch and Teresa will be joining us very shortly as soon as I've added them into the call. Now, we're calling this pop-up show Haunted Vegas because the lovely Carl has just come back from Las Vegas. Haven't you, my lovely?
Still recovering from jet lag.
All of them are still recovering from jet lag who went. But it was a big event. Mainly, I don't know if you guys out there are aware, but the lovely MJ and Duncan renewed their wedding vows in Vegas. So this was part of the reason they all went. But they all went for an extended time. They didn't just go for the event, the wedding event, which we'll get to. But they went for an extended time. And they had some really strange things happen. So we thought we'd have a little pop-up show because Carl's been telling me about it. It's like, oh, this is like, we've got to strike while the iron's hot here because there's like so much that actually happens. So Carl, tell us about this trip to Vegas. Kick us off.
Well, we were all going out, everybody that was involved were heading out to Vegas for two main reasons. The main reason was MJ and Duncan's, the amazing MJ and Duncan's, their renewal values of their wedding after 10 years. But the other thing was to experience Vegas for the first time for certain people. I'd been there several times before. But yeah, it was amazing. It was obviously MJ was out in the States for 3 weeks before and then 3 weeks after because she was doing conventions in Seattle, Dallas, Kentucky for Cripscon. So she was doing all that.
She's been doing all that. At this point, I want to say hi to Jay. Good evening, Jay.
Howdy, y'all.
Hi, Jay and Teresa. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fabulous.
Good. Now, Carl's just been talking about all the conventions that have been going on across America recently.
What's we got going on here? We're quiet and shy.
Yeah, right. You've been to a few of those, haven't you?
Why not? I didn't hear you.
The conventions, the paranormal conventions that have been going off across America.
I'm here in Toledo, Ohio right now for Paranormal Toledo, which is tomorrow. Teresa and I and Rick Rose will be speaking tomorrow with Jason Schneider.
Fantastic.
Kerry, this is what we miss. I went out to Vegas. I did my thing in Vegas. I twanged my thing in Vegas. But this is what I miss. I twanged my thing in Vegas. But it's the convention circuit. It's the convention circuit. What Jay is saying about going to conventions, he's obviously preparing for another weekend of talking about amazing stuff and experiencing stuff at a convention. This is what I don't think the UK audience, personally, understands. There's not this. There's one convention that does all this stuff. The American type conventions in the UK. And that's basically one of the main reasons, apart from my fun and games in Vegas I have.
So
we do have a little social thing going on with conventions around this place. It's almost saturated to the point of being too many just about.
There are a lot, aren't there? So what ones have you done already this year, Jay?
We've been to, I think this is our 9th one this year. I know this we're going to be at about our 6th or 7th one that we're speaking at. And we went to more than that. We went to about 4 or 5 that we weren't on the roster. We just went and had fun. So this season alone.
Jay, can I ask you a quick question for the UK audience?
Sure.
Can you describe a US convention? I know that sounds really weird to say it in that terms, but I think there's a lot of people that listen in the UK that have no idea what a paranormal convention is, because you only have a couple in the UK. But they don't have the, as I describe it, the American razzmatazz.
Oh, it's amazing. You have everything paranormal. You have everything from investigating and paranormal teams to cryptozoology to ufology. And of course there's a large vendor area always set up where you can buy anything from stones and crystals to Ouija boards to psychic readings, whatever, you name it. It's all there. It's pretty much a one-stop shop animal thing. And people from all over come in, and they always bring somebody who in the field. Like this weekend, we'll have Bruce Tango. We'll be there speaking. Christopher Bruce and his wife Rachel. Bruce will be there speaking. Teresa and Rick and Blake. And we get a broad spectrum of people that present different opinions about the paranormal from different venues. Whether it be using nods to whatever tech is out there, and do it all around education.
Sounds amazing. Jay, just for the people that are just tuning in now, that are picking up on the old pop-up show on a Friday night, the convention circuit in the US is big business. There's one probably every other weekend. So there's a convention here, there, and everywhere, and you guys go to wherever you can, and you meet these guys on a day-to-day basis. But just to give our not small-minded, but our small viewer people, sort of the people that go on these conventions, who are these people that you see week in, week out? Some of the big names that you see.
All of them. You'll see anybody from John Zappis to just about everybody that's on one of the shows. Some of the hardest ones to get to come to a convention, like last week they had one in Kentucky. It's called Scarefest. And it combines paranormal with horror. So they had anything from the original people that played Jason and Michael Myers and all those characters to the people from the Ghost Brothers were there. The race chasers were there. I mean, you can just keep naming paranormal teams and investigators over there, from some of the biggest in the business in the United States to some of the people that just relatively getting out there.
So, from a point of view of the UK market, if these people that are out there in the UK market want to go, right, I'll tell you what, I want to go to the States and I want to go to a convention that is the happening, the fucking place. Oh, excuse me. The place to
It is a Friday. It is a Friday night.
I'm sorry.
Explicit language. Explicit language.
I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's been a while since I've been on the radio.
That word usually when you beat me to it.
Yeah. Sorry, Jay. As I was saying, without bleeping myself out, if there's people out there from the UK that want to go out to the States when they're on holiday and they want to incorporate, say, a convention, from your point of view, what would be the convention? You've got Scarefest, you've got Michigan Paragon, you've got Salem, you've got all these conventions out there. In your view, from a personal people that talk at these, that go around the circuit, what event would you say would be the best thing for people that are out in the States from the UK that want to experience this? What would the convention to go to be?
Anyone that I'm at, no.
And if you watch the network, you will see wherever Jay is. So we'll put publicity that as well.
But I would say it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for more of a traditional style, billing off of the metaphysical, then I would say go to Salem, because they still embrace the whole witchcraft lore and everything like that. If you're looking for along the lines of tech, then you want to go more towards one that's more lines along that lines, like up in New Hampshire. Then you get one like this weekend. This weekend, when we're right here in Toledo, Ohio, it's more geared toward, believe it or not, towards investigators. It's a chance for people to come together, have like minds, and communicate and meet and network together. So it's based along the lines of paranormal convention, but it's with a conceptual idea of coming together as one to learn from one another and to help communicate with one another and to break down the barriers. So it all depends on what you're looking for and your style of investigating. There's so many different ones, so many different ways.
Okay, you mentioned, obviously, you say one of the ones you would recommend is Salem, which I'm going to in April next year to celebrate my birthday, because it falls straight on my birthday. I'll be at Salem, so anybody that's listening, come out to Salem, come enjoy this amazing festival. We'll see people that are amazing, just to see me, and they see me having a laugh on my birthday. But you also mentioned, you said if you're interested in crypto, if you're interested in aliens, or you're interested in equipment, there's different festivals or different conventions that meet people's needs. Is that right?
Absolutely. Just last weekend, there was 2 weekends before. The weekend before Scarefest, which was horror and paranormal mixed, was down in Southern Ohio. Was the Mothman Festival there at Point Pleasant in West Virginia and stuff. They actually have a festival down there every year celebrating the Mothman in the collapse of that bridge and stuff. So it's whatever you want. There's a cryptozoology and Bigfoot convention next weekend in Zanesville, Ohio. 3 weeks ago, there was one down in Kentucky. So it all depends on what you want. They're out there in the States. We'll have a festival for anything.
That sounds amazing, because I think the UK audience and the guys in the UK that are into the paranormal and into listening on a week-to-week basis on radio, they research and stuff like that. But I don't think they get an understanding of what a convention. I've been to 2 in the States, and it's just opened my eyes. And obviously, I've been quite regularly to the ones in the UK, and I must admit, from a personal person, English person, it's a different vibe, but it's amazing. But when you go to a convention in the States, it's unbelievable. It's a full-on experience for you guys, and I think that's the thing that I want to sort of make out. And this is one of the things that me and Kerry were talking about before the pop-up show, was the whole thing about what's the difference between a convention in the UK to the convention in the US.
Well, the fact to start off with is they've got a lot, and we haven't.
Exactly. You guys have one every single weekend. You can go to you can go to this, you can go that. You can literally week after week, just for one Friday to Sunday, you can go from one Crypticon to another paranormal convention to this, that, and the other, Scarefest, Michigan Paracon, this, that, and the other. You can just fly around and just here.
Oh, I'd say within a 6-hour drive of where Teresa and I and Rick live, there's 4 or 5 conventions going on this weekend and stuff. And one of them was only about 20 minutes from the house. We're not the one there 20 minutes from the house. We're 2.5 hours away.
And you do like to travel, don't you?
I love to travel. I love to see the world. Plus, people putting it on up here in Toledo, it's an amazing one. Also, the good thing about this, and our hearts, is that every bit of proceeds from this goes back into the building for spatial preservation. It's an old the place where used to be an all-girls school, a Catholic school and college, and it's an art theater for the community, and they're trying to preserve it. 43, it's 160-some years old, so they asked us if we would come up here, and we volunteered our time because every bit of proceeds is going right back into the building. Keep it part of the community.
Amazing. And what I want to say thing is, obviously, I know Ashley that's in the studio that's here with us as well, and Ashley has experienced Sage Paracon.
He has. He's a bit busy at the moment. He's got. Oh, are we with us? Sorry.
Sorry. I missed the signals on the camera.
I was doing this, and no, right.
I will shut up. I will stop being the question master, and I'll just move on.
I've got some background noise.
Okay. In that case, Ashley, shut yourself out. I'm just going to ask this question to Jaden.
What?
Unless you want to answer it.
Depends what the question is. What's the question, Silas? No,
I was just going to ask you. I was going to just ask you what you've been to. Well, I met you for the first time in 2014 at the UK's probably first style Paracon in Derby, where
that's right. Yeah, that's where we first met.
Where we chewed the fat over Jack Daniels and ghosts and this, that, and the other. What was your initial views on Paracons?
Obviously at that point in time, I'd never been to anything like that before. We've lost audio.
No, we haven't. I'm looking at Jay. I'm making signs at Jay.
It's not picking off whatsoever.
I know, I saw that. You lot weren't supposed to be paying attention to that. Just Jay was, all right?
I'm sorry, when the lovely Jay's face appears and he's doing full tactical, what are we supposed... But what... I'm sorry, what are we supposed to be doing?
Sorry.
So, back to you, Ashley.
I'm just going to make baby eyes at Jay.
That's fine. You two do what you need to do. I'll move you around my screen. Going back to Ashley.
That was the first one I went to, and to be quite frank, I didn't know what to expect because I've never been to anything like that. I've been to other things, not quite like a convention, obviously a little bit different from a conference or anything like that you might go to. What I was quite excited about was the fact that there was a lot of people coming together who had the same kinds of interests, but weren't on an investigation per se. They were there to talk about things, listen to lectures and stuff like that about certain aspects, and basically get to know each other from different areas of the field. And that's kind of what made me decide about it and what I really loved about it.
I think that is probably...
That's what it's about.
Absolutely,
conventions is bringing people together, like-minded people, whether that be in America, UK, wherever that be. And actually, great if you can cross-culture it. You know what I mean? And even the Europeans or the Americans, the Australians, bring them together and learn from each other and talk to each other about a shared passion that we have.
I think the biggest thing about it is when you go to a convention, whether it's in the UK or the US, which I've experienced both sides of it. I've not experienced that much of a US convention to the point where I'm sold, but I'm already sold on conventions in the US because I'm going to be doing several next year. But I think the thing is, you are in a situation... No, it's not about shouting off. It's because I have the moment and I'm going to fucking do it. I'm going to do it. But no, what I'm thinking is, in my head is, you're in a situation where you're in your bubble. You're in your own little bubble. your little cardboard box, your little box and fish. That's a joke for all the UK listeners. But you get to that point where you think that you are kind of mental. You haven't got that outlet. And then when you put yourself into a situation at a convention, whether it's the UK, whether it's the US, whether it's anywhere around the world, all of a sudden you are in that situation where you feel like you're normal. Whatever you talk about, whether you experience a crypto sighting or you experience a UFO or you experience a ghost, you're talking with people that won't judge you. Yeah. And that is the biggest thing about conventions, whether you're in the UK, US or Mars. You are in an environment, in my eyes, that is pure brilliant because nobody judges you. Nobody thinks you're a weirdo. I know Jay sees that because I can see him running around that beautiful field that nobody else can see with the blue skies, and we're all sitting here going, it's dark, it's miserable, blah 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 blah. Jay, what is your views on conventions?
I didn't hear that. I'm messing with Rick. He's inside the building, inside the house right here, filming me while I'm not here talking with you guys, being a jerk.
So is Rick with you?
Yeah, he's in the house. I'm flipping him off right now so you guys can't see me on camera.
I'm sorry. Being somebody, you're obviously there. You're doing something off it. Get the people that should be on camera. Get them on camera. Come on.
Come outside.
The thing is, I don't know if you guys have seen this recently.
Bring him in on the chat.
Well, Rick, Teresa and Jay went out the other night and they did a video. They were searching for the white lady, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. There he is.
Hey, there's my Rick boy.
Hey!
So did you like the white lady, Rick?
There's our friends Jason and Katie over here.
Hi, guys. Sorry, what you guys can't see on radio is that Jay's now got inside the building. There's my Teresa. Oh, my God, this feels like a reunion.
Teresa!
Oh, my God, it feels like a reunion. Mwah, mwah. Anyway, you went and found the white lady, didn't you?
I'm going to do the big brother voice. You are live on radio. Please do not swear.
Now,
you already have, Carl.
Yeah, blown that one out of the water.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, but I said that before I did it. So
Jay, listen.
Yes, ma'am.
You went and found the white lady, didn't you? You guys, Teresa and Rick went out and did a skit the other day, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
No, I have shared that to the Parasearch Radio group page. It was really scary. If you've not caught it, you need to go over to the Parasearch Radio group page and check that out. You will see Rick Rose mess himself, basically, and Jay fall down a curb. I think it was, wasn't it? You went rolling down a hill.
We were actually debuting. We had another the other night. We filmed. It was called for the Bloody Mary. We actually was working on the urban legend of Bloody Mary, some evidence, and we're going to debut it tomorrow night at the convention, and then we'll probably put it out on Facebook Monday after the convention's over with. Yeah, we're talking about this on that too.
Well, Jay, I just want to say one other thing. You helped me get over my jet lag. I know I witnessed you and your fellow colleague that we just saw a minute of seconds ago doing a test show, and I was live. Literally, I commented once when I was US side, and then I commented again UK side, and you took the mickey out of me. But it was great, and anybody that's out there listening, go and listen to these guys. They're brilliant. Whatever network they're on.
Ramblings of a Maniac, isn't it? Your other show.
That live on Facebook. You can now find it live on Facebook. We're doing it on Twitch TV. We've been doing it on Facebook Live here lately. This past Monday, we actually had Teresa on there with us. We got one of these things called a Yum Box. Have you guys ever heard of those?
No.
It's called yum.com or yum.com, and basically you get it each month. You get a new one from across the world. This time we got a snack from Thailand. It's probably the most disgusting stuff I've ever put in my mouth, but we ate it anyway.
Oh my word!
And it wasn't about a week or so ago. We did a beer tasting live. We had some of the nastiest beers we could possibly find, and we tried to make ourselves good. And they were disgusting, and it was good, and it was funny, and it was disgusting, and it
It's funny and disgusting, everybody. You heard it right from the horse's mouth there.
Kerry, I would just like to do one thing. I want to give Jay the opportunity to say where he is, what's he doing tonight, because it looks amazing on my camera, because it's beautiful sunshine. He's in pastures, he's got a house, he's got great people behind him. Where are you tonight? What you're doing, and where can anybody see you?
Tonight we are in Toledo, Ohio. For tomorrow will be the Toledo Paracon here it'll be at the old Collingwood Art Center, which used to be a all girls Catholic school. We are volunteered to come up here for this convention. We're speaking, Teresa, myself, Rick, and we are presenting tomorrow afternoon. Then we'll also be presenting on live. But we're doing it because all the places serve the local building. It's to help preserve the history of that building for the part of the community. So that's major. That about all the conventions and stuff, and investigations that we do them for charity. We don't profit anything out of them. That's not what we do this for. We do it to help out, and we also love to investigate. So come on out, give it a listen, see new evidence, and help us help the community.
Okay, what I'm going to just quickly say is anybody in the UK that's listening and hearing Jay say that, and they're in the US and they're looking for something to do, and go onto the website where Jay advertises everything, see where they are, go out and see the guys, give them a hug. But biggest thing is make sure you take a photo, post it onto our radio show, where you are, wherever you're doing, just to say hello. But obviously the biggest thing is, Jay, you're amazing. We love you guys. It's amazing to have people in the field that potentially you haven't met, because over the years I've met so many different people, but I've not physically met. And you're one of them where you get to that point where you just think, it's amazing, it's great, and you can have a laugh, and you don't have to be in the same room. You could be 3,500 miles away, but you still have a laugh. So anybody in the UK that's going out of the States, that's interested in the paranormal, that's going to a convention, check out Jay, check out what he does, where he's talking, any convention, go and see him. And biggest thing is, make sure you post a picture back to Kerry.
And don't forget,
I want to meet me now.
Jay and Teresa do a show also on Paramania called Sit Down and Laugh with the Lynches, and they get some amazing guests on every single week on that show. So check that one out from the other side of the pond. Anyway, question, guys. We were talking haunted Vegas. That was what we were talking. Have you been to Vegas,
Oh, yeah.
Jay?
I got one
Is that
little
topic?
thing. I hate to say this, but I'm going to have to cut it a little bit short because I see Kristen Duke right now holding the beer up at me. So when people come in here in the beer, well, I got to drink.
I didn't hear a word of that.
All I heard was, have you been to Vegas?
I didn't hear that. So, Jay, have you been to Vegas?
No, I've not been to Vegas. I'm afraid to let my sinful ass out there.
Ashley, have you been to Vegas?
I have not been to Vegas. I've watched CSI a lot.
Yeah, I have been.
Okay. Kerry, have you been to Vegas?
No, I haven't been to Vegas. I'd love to go to Vegas.
Okay.
Are you sure? Karen?
I would love to go. So you went to Vegas?
Who, me?
Yes, you.
You're talking... Oh, me, sorry. I thought it was all about other people. I didn't think it was about me.
No,
yes,
no,
I,
back
yes,
to you now, lovey.
I have returned. Yes, I have returned a week ago from 11 days in Vegas, and it was unbelievable. What do you want to know?
So, I want to know, I know for a fact that under PSH Radio with Sam Mason, you're going to be doing a blog soon, aren't you?
We are indeed. What we're going to do is A blog. It's going to be a video, a picture. It's going to be words. It's going to be the whole thing about my own experience, because I've been to Las Vegas 4 or 5 times before this time, but those times was all about a different reason. This time it was all about the paranormal. It was all about a wedding. It was all about friends. It was all about getting together with like-minded people in the paranormal industry, whether they're famous, whether they're not. And we were out in Vegas. I was out there for 11 days.
Okay, and where did you stay? Which hotel did you stay at?
Well, when I was doing my investigation of where I'm supposed to be staying, I looked at all the hotels. Normally, when I stayed, I was normally stayed at the MGM Grand, right on the corner. But this time, because everybody that was coming in, that was flying in at different times, and we were talking to people, I looked at locations that were allegedly haunted. I know that sounds very, very strange, but that's what we did. And there was 2 hotels that had flags on the internet about haunted Vegas, and the biggest one was the Luxor, which is the pyramid.
Yeah.
So I didn't stay in the pyramid because of one reason only. I stayed in the West Tower, and the only reason I stayed there, I was in the Luxor, but the only reason I stayed there is the lifts go diagonally. So if anybody in the UK, and probably anywhere that knows it, watches Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, when the lift goes diagonally,
ugh, sounds horrible.
That's what the lifts do. Exactly. When you get in the lift and you go up in the pyramid, you feel but the weird thing about it, Ash, is you suddenly feel you're going sideways, then up, and then round. And I just didn't want to do it. So I booked myself into the West Tower. We landed at McCarran Airport. I got off the plane, and the first thing I saw was the Vegas sign. And then I saw a couple of other haunted locations that have been on TV and all this sort of stuff. Turned up at the Luxor, checked in, dumped the stuff, came back out, and so I was at the Luxor.
Okay, now, you say it's got haunted stories attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about those.
Well, the Luxor Hotel, because it's a pyramid, and anybody that's been inside the Luxor Hotel in Vegas will understand this. When you go in and you look up, every room in the pyramid has the door opening up onto the down below, basically. So basically, whether you're on the first floor to the 27th floor, which I think it's 27 floors, it could be 25 or 26, but I never went that high up in there. You basically open your bedroom door, you're on a balcony looking straight down. And basically, you're inside of a pyramid. And over the years, talking, and I did this, I did my due diligence of a paranormal investigator. I asked people about events, and majority of the people I spoke to wouldn't talk about it. And I thought that was quite strange. In the UK, I thought people would talk about it, and they normally do, but in the States, particularly in Vegas, I spoke to the concierge, I spoke to the lift person, blah, 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 blah. Nobody wanted to talk about the Luxor Hotel and its haunted things. A couple of days after we checked in, after we got acclimatised, I was in the main bar, the Aurora Bar, which anybody going to the Luxor Hotel, go to Aurora Bar, go and see my biggest friend, go and see him at the bar. Martin.
Marco.
Well, Marco.
It's his best friend, and I know his name. Carl doesn't know his name. Yeah. I know his name.
I know his name, but I was trying to work out whether it's Mark. I'm trying to work out for the English audience or the American audience. Anyway, anybody turn up, go and see Marco at the Aurora Bar. Tell him Carl sent you. You'll be set. But he was like, he opened up and he was telling the stories. And then all of a sudden we met the other night guys that were working, because obviously Vegas, you're in a hotel, the bars do not shut. So whether it's 1 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, whatever, the bars do not shut. You don't know whether it's day, night, or whatever. So I got to talk to these people, and I was talking to them. We were talking paranormal. And then I got introduced to Sean, who was one of the night porters. And he was telling us about stuff on certain floors, like floor 3, 5, 8, and 9. And then all of a sudden I said, so what is this story, this famous story about somebody throwing themselves out of the balcony on floor 22 in 3 and landing in the food court? And he wouldn't talk about it. So I was like, that's a bit weird. But then you went on the internet and you couldn't find any information about it. And then 2 or 3, possibly 4 days into it, I was talking to Sean again late at night, as you do in Vegas. When you don't see sunlight, you don't actually see anything daylight. And he was talking about it, and he was sort of opening up a little bit. But it's Vegas, it's hotel, it's about the whole thing about nobody wants to stay in a haunted room. Nobody wants to sleep in the same bed somebody died in. And he told me about stuff.
We do. Yeah, the English do.
Exactly.
We're mad enough to do it.
Put me in tomorrow.
Exactly, but he told me this story that there's an hour and a half window when somebody dies, murdered, all these crazy things that happen in hotel rooms. There's an hour and a half window where the coroner picks up the body, proves the point of death, takes the body out. From that moment in, they've got an hour where they rip the wall, they rip the wallpaper, they rip the furniture, the beds, the mattresses, the duvets, gets ripped out of a room, and within an hour later, the room has got new bed, new wallpaper, new things, everything. And the room is up for sale.
Back up for rent.
And that's the crazy thing about it, is that people don't understand that when somebody dies, sadly, of natural causes, within an hour and a half of it being reported, they're selling the bed again.
Wow.
Whether you're being murdered, whether you are doing this, that, and the other. Okay, there's other experiences, because obviously we were in Vegas a few weeks, up to a year after the sad tragedy of the shooting in Vegas from Mandalay Bay, which was weird, because obviously we had people there that were very, very in tuned, sensitive, blah, 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 blah. That really had to, before they landed in Vegas, shut themselves off. Because you think there was nearly 100 people that got shot and killed right outside of our hotel.
Yeah.
And we're not talking, we're talking literally meters. Every time you walked out the front of the hotel, you looked one side, you had the Mandalay Bay, the window. You looked across the road, you saw the fairground where everything got shot. So these people that are sensitive and in tune with spirits had to close themselves down, and they had issues. And I'm not going to talk about it, but they had experiences over the weekend. But for me, as a paranormal investigator, I've stayed at other hotels, but I hadn't stayed at the MGM. And I tell you what, I would honestly, hand on heart, if you've not been to Vegas and you're going to stay anywhere in Vegas and you want something a bit quiet but close to the Strip, book into the Luxor.
Okay. So, whilst you was in Vegas, and I don't know if you want to talk about this, but you had quite a personal experience, didn't you?
Yeah, the group of we were there because obviously we're there for several reasons. But when everybody joined together, we were all together. There was about 16, 17 people, and we booked a private tour of Zach Bagan's Haunted Museum.
Yes. Now, this is very interesting, the Zach Baggins. It's had a lot of press, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Some good, some not so good.
I've not read about it. I know about it. I've met Zach before, but I've not read an awful lot about the museum. I knew that certain objects, certain haunted items, certain objects like the Dibbit box, and certain dolls and certain things like that, and like Marilyn, the Manson murders. There's a painting where you can actually touch and stuff like that. So I know all this sort of stuff, but I've seen it on YouTube, I've seen it on Snapchat, and you just think, okay. So as a group, we went.
Yeah. Right, so before we get into that, can you just explain to us, because when you think museum, in the UK we have set sort of like mental mindsets of what a museum looks like, don't we? So can you give us like a picture representation of rough, what does it look like? What is it? Is it just in a room? Okay. Is it a house? Is it in a hotel?
Okay, anybody that's gone to Vegas that has been anywhere in the Strip, it's bright lights, it's big hotels, it's fancy, it's lovely, it's safe, it's razzmatazz, it's show hands.
Jazz hands.
Jazz hands. Then you get to then you get to the Stratosphere, which is the big hotel, which looks a bit like the CN Tower in Toronto. And then you have the Stratosphere, and then you have a bit of ground, and then you have Fremont Street, old Las Vegas. Anybody that's been to Vegas knows that between the Stratosphere and Fremont Street is a poor neighborhood. So it's not like going to Vegas. It's not like the bright lights. It's not like, woohoo, yeah. You venture to a point and then you stop. We were arranged to go into. We got into a bus that picked us up from the Luxor Hotel, drove us down the Strip. So we saw the Fountain at Bellagio, we saw the MGM, we saw Caesar's Palace, Treasure Island, etc. All the amazing people, all the amazing places you see online. You saw the Stratosphere. Then you walked into an area where was quite, not being nasty, and I don't believe anybody that's actually been there will disagree with this. It was quite poverty. It was an area that you didn't really want to be walking around alone. You passed the, if anybody watches on TV, porn stars, their shop, you see those. You then come to a side street which had a road going left, a road going right, a road going north, a road going south. You turn left, you walked into this where you're there in front of the museum. Your first views of the museum is a car park and a gate, some trees and a building. You look at it and you think, okay, I don't really see the interest to it. So, because it looks quite small. So you then walk up the driveway, you pass a couple of things on the road. You got the museum sign, you got a few other bits that you then walk up, and then you got a line way into the area where you sort of go into the museum. You pass like a hearse. It was only when you got close to the house then gives you that aura. The aura is something in my eyes that it looks quite small which I'll explain in a bit. But you think the house looks quite small, but it's got some history. Anybody that is listening, that has listened, that's done the research, has a lot of history behind it, which I'm not going to go into. But there's a lot of history. There's a lot of satanic. It's a lot of negative energy that's happened in the house over the years.
So
Zach's bought it.
I was going to say, so Zach has picked this house actually for a more ulterior motive than just a place to put his museum in.
Well, What I believe happened was Zach bought it off the Las Vegas Council, sort of in the UK, whatever you call council is. It was a government building. It had reports of satanic rituals. It was several. When you look at it from the front, it doesn't look that big. Once you're inside it and once you're walking around it, it's huge. But from the outside point of view, you have a sign, you have a little bit of you have grass area, you have a hearse. You would think, oh, it's a typical Las Vegas entertainment sort of place.
Yeah.
But Zach bought it from the Las Vegas, I believe it's the government or something like that, whatever council, but it had a reported reputation of satanic rituals in the cellar.
Right. So that sets the scene, basically, for where the museum is. Now, okay, so how does it feel when you walk in? How does it actually feel when you walk in? I said that 3 times. Right. Walk in. How does it feel? Walk in.
I will tell you how I felt when I walked in, and I will tell you how I felt when I walked in. If anybody's been to Disneyland, when they're queuing up for, say, one of the major rides at Disneyland, you have the whole experience where you look at things. There's the people standing who are part of the building up the mental image. That's what you get. So you turn up, they're hyping it up. They're saying this, that, and the other, and they put you in groups. You then get told you've got to sign a waiver.
Lovely.
And I
love a waiver.
I was just thinking, you just sign it, you hand it. But this is a proper legal document, waiver, talky thing, whatever you want to say it, which if you read it, I'd have been standing outside for about an hour and a half. I just went, where do I sign? And I signed it. I should have basically read it a little bit more, but I didn't. I just signed it.
Hold on. Ashley would like to interject at this point.
Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
So, and you know what I'm like, huh?
Yeah. I know. I must admit, Ashley, you would have your field day.
So you go into this place, and the first thing they do is to get you to sign a waiver.
You're not even in the place.
Brilliant. Okay.
You're basically standing in the car park in a line. You're not even in the door yet.
I've got some things racing around my head, but I'm going to let you continue for the time being.
No. We're at this point. Let's deal with each issue as we hear it.
Ashley, talk.
I was going to give it to me. Okay, fair enough. Right, so you stood in the car park, you haven't even hit the place, and they've given you a waiver. This is for me, this is a massive psychological play, basically.
Yeah.
Put a waiver in front of it, and obviously, all of a sudden, you're going to put something on that way. Now, I've not been to the place. I haven't got any idea what that waiver is going to continue to say, but I'm guessing it's something along the lines of, if you get an attachment or something happens whilst you're using, basically you're entering at your own risk. That kind of waiver.
That's what I think.
Is that bad luck or something?
Actually, yes. And then there's more other information about if you get physically hurt. You have to basically sign about 9 places on the waiver. You then have to produce a photo ID with your money when you pay it. Yep, there you go.
This is a massive, for me. This is a massive psychological play. It's hyping it up. Yes, okay, it is securing them legally, and we all know about Americans and all that kind of stuff and how they love the legality things. But for me, and I'm going to put it out there, and I'll probably get it back down, but I don't care. I think that's a massive psychological play as you go into the site to make you think, oh Christ, this is real.
This is a
I've just
real
signed a legal
phenomenon.
document.
Yeah, there's real phenomenon.
I'm
bound by this document.
Ashley, from somebody that hadn't experienced it and queued up, got this waiver from a guy called Angry Joe in basically a Undertaker's outfit. Angry Joe's he's the most amazing person. Anybody that goes to the museum, anybody listening that sees Angry Joe, tell him Carl Hutchinson from the UK He'll give you a good treatment. He'll love you. He'll be great. Frank Sinelli, everybody like that. We all know him. We all love him. Great person. But you're right. You get that. You have that moment before you actually go into the museum, because you don't go into the museum once you get the waiver. Go on, Ashley.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's brilliant because it adds to the experience and all that kind of stuff. Because it obviously makes it drums the drama, doesn't it? But I'm just sort of saying it doesn't help from my perspective. It makes it a little bit okay.
Yeah.
But it's America, and things could happen, I suppose.
To be truthfully honest, Ashley, you are spot on, because it builds up the intensity before you actually go on the tour. Mm-hmm. Because you queue up, you talk to whoever's in the line, who are dressed like undertakers, you split you into groups, hands out the waiver form that builds that waiver form up. You then go into the pay area, which I'll then explain after we go into the pay area. But you're absolutely right. They build the anticipation up from the moment you leave the car park.
Yeah, because it's essentially what it is the psychology around it is the same as a roller coaster. You queue people up around the roller coaster so they see it happening all the time. Yeah. So they're building how nervous they are and all that kind of stuff.
So you're seeing people scream, you're seeing all that. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing.
I'm not distant at all. It might be a fantastic experience.
Kerry, can I just say, you don't hear any screams. It's definitely silent.
No, when we're talking about when we're talking about building the anticipation in regards to the same as a roller coaster.
But I would just like to say, it's in Vegas.
Of course,
Vegas is noisy. Where the museum is, the particular area is quiet, which is weird because you're in Vegas. You move out of Vegas, you move out of the strip area. You go to Old Town Vegas, where the hotel is, where the museum is, and it's a completely different vibe to the strip.
Okay, so you get this waiver. You didn't read it all, no?
No, I didn't. I was just interacting with Angry Joe. We were having photographs taken because we were there. I was sort of kind of listening. Didn't read it. Just, that's okay, fair enough. Then you walk into the reception area. Yep, go.
If you didn't read it, you might have signed your life over to the devil or something. Sorry, just chucking that one in.
You put it out there. I didn't. You don't. They tell you not to sign it, and they tell you not to sign it until you've read it, until you pay your money.
So just for the listeners out there, always read legal documents.
Yes, always read a small print, always, because you don't know what you might be signing your life away for. Just saying. Anyway, so you've done this, you go through. Right, we're in the museum now. We've gone through the payment thing, and we're in the museum.
No.
Oh, we're building more anticipation, clearly.
Okay. You are then in a room when you go in, when you first walk into the actual physical building, which is basically a very small room. On the walls, there's pictures of Zach and famous people, and it also has a few little other things on the wall. There are pictures that on the blog, if you go to it. If you go to Sam's blog, you'll see pictures of it. It's the only place that you can take photos actually in the museum.
So, you're not allowed to take photos throughout the whole museum? Just one place?
You cannot take photos, you cannot take recorders, you cannot do anything physical. Any ghost hunter or investigator or whatever you want to call yourself, once you leave where you pay your money, basically you are told you can't do anything else. Oh, shit.
I don't think she muted it. Anywho.
Yeah. No, once you pay your money, you go into this small room which has a video playing of what I remember is the episode where they investigate the museum. On the wall, there's pictures of Zach, Aaron, and all the team with various other people. It's you got a toilet, you got a men's and ladies toilets, you got a bench seat. You basically go in there, you read the thing, you sign it, you pay your money, you then move across. The next person goes in. Once everybody's paid, once you've paid everything, you then get escorted out of the pay room, back outside in the room the way you've just come. So you meet Angry Joe or whoever's the guest usher at the time, who then takes you round the front of the museum, the house, and gives you a bit of history about the house itself before you actually go into the museum.
Right.
You mentioned then that you said that there's a video of them where they of the episode where they investigate the museum. I'm guessing you mean the museum itself, that's where everything is, yeah?
Yeah. There's a video screen in a very lovely old sort of bookcase surrounded by certain objects, but there's a video screen that is showing the episode where they had a few experts go into certain rooms with certain objects playing. Sort of no sound, but it's playing. And what you do is you pay your money, you then have a little... It's a very, very small room. I then sat down on a bench seat next to the toilets, wait for everybody to pile in our group to pay, because you only go in certain groups, which I believe is the maximum when you turn up at the museum, they will only take a maximum of 10, but we were a private group and they took a maximum of 12. So you had 12 other people going up to this pay desk to pay their money, sign their waivers, and then we all hung around, and then we were asked to then leave the museum, which is quite weird because there was these velvet curtains where you thought you'd go through, but then you walked back out the way you came, and you went back out to where you were queuing up to go in, and then you got a little bit of a talk about the outside of the building and a bit of the history about the building as you walk round to the front door of the building.
Oh, right.
Exactly.
Sorry. So all of this is like just a build up before you actually get into the museum. So when do you get to the juicy bits?
Well, after you like pay your bit, you do your group, you then come out and then you get another safety talk about you go into where you go into a certain location, blah, 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 blah. You then go to the front of the house on the street, which is not on the street because it's inside the grounds, but it's basically on the street. You look at the front door and they talk about the history of the building, where they explain it, where it was a building, what it was in the past, what it was that there's proven records for. And then basically you open the tour guide, because you have a tour guide with you, opens the front door, you then walk in.
I almost want to I'm sure as they open the doors, there's a dun, dun, dun kind of moment.
To be truthfully honest, Kerry, that's what was playing in my head.
and was it when you first entered the house? When you first entered in the house, was there a kind of a moment, or was it kind of like, oh, I wasn't expecting that?
Well, okay. Okay. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil it for anybody else. But the first room you walk into from the front door is basically a room is a bit like the entrance where you pay your money, but it's surrounded by dolls and there's bits on the wall, there's photographs, and at the far end next to another door is anybody that is seen Big, the movie,
Yeah.
Yep, seen that. Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you know the machine Zoltan.
Yeah, Zoltan.
Yeah,
Zoltan
yeah.
or Zoltan.
Yeah. There's a machine.
I just say we've still got one of them down Canvey beach.
It doesn't look like it, but that was my first thing. I was the first in the room. I walked up and everybody comes in, everybody like crams in, and then they shut the door, and then the tour starts. The tour guy then basically goes into it, explains about the museum, explains about objects that you are going to experience in the next few rooms. And it says there's nothing in the first room that you're in that is haunted, but whoever's the first person to pull out $1 out of their pocket will get something special.
Oh, I bet you was all scrabbling in your pockets at that point.
I already had $1 in my pocket, and I was the first person to pull $1 out.
Excellent.
He takes the $1 off you. He puts it in the machine, the big museum, the Zoltar machine, and then you have this video voice of Zach and this video machine that basically says, "Welcome to da 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 da," and explains a little bit about it, and then basically tells your fortune. You then get a card printed out, as in big, and the guy who basically puts your $1 in hands it to you. So I have this card, which is in my house.
So what was your fortune?
I'm not going to say that because I don't want to say that. I want to say that on a future show. Because of one thing, Zoe. No, I'm not linking it. I'm just basically trying to link it to something else that happens further down the tour.
Okay.
Okay. So you have that.
But he won't tell us about it because that's going to be on a future show that's nothing to do with us.
No. This will be whatever you bring me back on. I'm not gonna give you the whole fucking thing. I'm not gonna give you the whole thing.
Damn.
Because because it didn't really twig with me, because I never really, at the time, I didn't really take much notice of it. He handed me the card. I didn't read the card. I put it in my pocket. And then we went into the museum.
Okay,
it was only afterwards that when I was sat back at the hotel a couple of days later that I read the card and the experiences that I'm going to tell you about. Then I put 2 and 2 together.
Okay, so you get into the goddamn museum. It feels like you're giving birth into the museum, to be fair.
Yeah, it's about a good 40 minutes from. It's about a good 40 minutes before after you pay your money, you're actually in the museum and you're on the tour. So you got a tour guide. You got a tour guide.
You're getting your money's worth. You're getting your money's worth.
You are definitely getting your money's worth.
You know.
So you have a tour guide. You walk into a room. He then starts explaining, and the room's full of artifacts, weird shit on the wall, amazing stuff. And then he basically says, "There's nothing in this room apart from if you look to your right, and there's this case, and there's a doll."
Which doll?
So everybody, I'm just a common garden haunted doll.
You're just a common garden doll that you can pick up on eBay. You know, any old doll that's haunted.
I'm talking from personality. I didn't pick up on anything. I didn't pick up on anything.
Okay.
You then went into another.
Yeah.
You then went into another room because you basically go from room to room, corridors, room to room, corridors.
Yeah.
So you then go into another room. And you go into another room, and I'm not going to give everything that happens in each room because I think that's wrong for everybody that goes to it. But certain things and certain experiences and certain objects, as you go through the museum, the haunted objects, the story, the play on your mind is sort of built up.
It's heightened per room, so it's very well marketed.
It's heightened. It is. But if you're sensitive, if you have feelings, if you have a spiritual experience, etc., be wary. And I am now wary because I sort of been an investigator for a long time. But as I went from room to room, I started to feel more and more uneasy. And we got to a room which was a room with mannequins, which was like, how do I describe this? No. You know the mannequins you see on seafronts with Mr. Chips and the crocodile?
No.
Oh, sorry, I know the Charles.
What's it called?
Punch and Judy.
Punch and Judy.
Oh,
you go
Punch
into
and
a
Judy
room.
shows. Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm with you now.
We'd been into a few rooms and I felt all right, but as soon as I walked into this room with the Punch and Judy, you were surrounded literally by
classic Victorian. Yeah.
Classic dolls which were attached by strings, and they got you in it. It's very small, it's very dark, and
it's
all
very
this sort of stuff.
claustrophobic.
It's very claustrophobic.
Was it
and
hot?
I started no, it wasn't hot. It wasn't cool. There was an even temperature, so it wasn't anything to do with that temperature.
Okay.
But I started to feel a little bit uneasy because we're in an area where these mannequins or dolls, whatever you want to call them, and I started to feel a little bit uneasy, like something was. When I've been on the investigation, something gets close to. So I was like, okay, fair enough. And then we went from that room to the room which has the camper van from the doctor that basically helped to kill over 200 people. Assisted deaths in the van. It's a VW camper van. It's busted to buggery. It's in the middle of this room. You walk in, you walk to the back. As you walk around the side, the doors are open on the camper van, and there's the bed, there's the drip, there's everything. But I walked into the room, I walked straight to the back. As soon as I got to the back of the van, I felt very uncomfortable to the point where I was like, I got the dry mouth. I had that sort of like, it was like all the moisture out of my body was now dragging out myself. I felt very, very uncomfortable. I felt very, very unwell. So I was like, okay, fair enough. It could be the heat, it could be this, it could be that. So I was like, I'm not going to react. And then I walked to the front of the van, which is anybody that's into VW camper vans. This is not a split screen. It's a one screen. It's a 19 whatever. It is the official van of Dr. DeCory, whatever his name is, who's committed hundreds of not murders, assisted deaths in the van. Got to the doors where the doors were open, and I was just like, I'm not feeling extremely well. So I was like, okay, fair enough. So I walked to the side. We went into another room, and to be truthfully honest, I haven't got a clue what the room after we left the doctor's room and the camper van and the next room was. The only time I sort of got myself like coherent and understood what was a room which was celebrity, which was the room which was personal items and artifacts of celebrity people that have died, like Michael Jackson's, the doctor that sat on his chair before he gave him the fatal injection, his chair. You had Patrick Swayze stuff. You had all these celebrities, and it was a room that wasn't really kicking it off. But I stood by the door. The door was open, and I started to feel really hard, feeling lightheaded. And directly outside the door is the stairwell to the cellar. The Haunted Museum, on the top level where we were is the museum. On the bottom level is Zach Bagan's laboratory, as I will describe it. He does experiments. He puts stuff
I
in.
want to go into the laboratory of Zach.
Hang on a minute.
you exactly. But you don't know this until I found out after my own experiences. But I started to feel very, very uneasy, very, very unwell in this celebrity. But I believe I brought it from the van room. So I walked out while everybody was going around the celebrity room and literally put my arms on the stairs. He goes down, there's a door that goes into the cellar. Everybody's in the celebrity room, and I'm trying not to throw up. I'm feeling very hot. I'm feeling very sick. My head's thumping. I'm not feeling very, very well. At that moment, at the corner of my eyes, I see movement coming down the corridor. So I'm like, oh, Jesus wept. And I didn't think anything of it. And then I heard what I described, and I described it to the three people that were with us in the tour group that were there on a day-to-day basis, of a woman's laugh, a cackle 3 times. It was like a witch's cackle 3 times. So I heard this in my head, and I'm trying not to throw up. I'm leaning on the banisters, and then this movement that I saw came closer, and it was Zach, Bacon, and 2 other people. Zach was in his mask, went straight down into the cellar. Didn't say anything to me. Bacon got to the top of the stairs and closed the gate, looked at me and went, "Are you okay?" And I went, "I'm not feeling very well." He went, "Somebody be with you in 2 seconds." Within seconds of him saying there'll be somebody with you within 2 seconds, there's 2 security guards that are huge standing next to me either side. I have no idea where they came from. They came out of nowhere. And you know me, you've been with me, you don't know. These guys came out of nowhere. The tour group I was with was still in the celebrity room, and they came out and they went, "We're going into another room," and I just went, "I just need a glass of water," and they literally dragged me away from the tour group. They went into another room. That was the end of my tour. So I was not even halfway round the museum before I couldn't go any further. So I'm literally standing there with 2 security guards and this other guy in their thing, who then took me through this velvet curtain, and then basically I was in the gift shop.
I gotta love a gift shop.
And and I sat down. All of a sudden, these 2 women, the security guards disappeared, and there was these 2 women that were running the gift shop and went, "Oh, sit down." So they put me down. I sat down. I was sweating. I was feeling sick. I was trying not to throw up. They were giving me water, and one of them, which was Wendy, who's the head of the gift shop, started talking to me, put my hands on my shoulder and talking to me. And then she said, "Just try and stand up." So I tried to stand up, and she said, "No, sit back down." Zach then reappeared through this velvet curtain, walked straight past me out, and he'd gone and left the building. Wendy then basically was giving me the whole slurb on the hotel and what's gone on, and the last 4 nights, the last 4 days, Zach has been doing experiments in the cellar that has hypened up the activity in the hotel. So I was like, okay, fair enough. And then she put her hand on my right shoulder, and it was like an electric shock. As soon as she touched me, she shocked off and jumped back and screamed.
That's reassuring.
Which is reassuring and she's then basically on the radio saying, "Call EMT, call EMT, call EMT." So I'm like, what is going on? And cut a long story short, they were calling me EMT because they thought I was having a heart attack.
Fucking hell. Oh, sorry.
So they were calling the paramedics in the UK. They were calling an ambulance, but they stopped calling it because I was like that. But she was then, when she put her hand on my shoulder, she jumped back. She's a medium. She sages and protects the building after hours on public areas. And as soon as she put her hand on my shoulder, she then jumped back and explained something about the museum does not want you here. And I'm like, I don't give a monkeys about the museum. I don't give a monkeys about where I am. I just need fresh air. So she was talking to me, and I stood up and I tried to walk into the left-hand side. Anybody who goes to the museum, you come out the velvet curtains. There's a gift shop on the right. There's a gift shop on the left.
Two gift shops. Yay.
Well, it's the same gift shop, but there's two. Directly when you walk through the velvet curtains, there's a chair, and behind the chair is this mummy, like looking like it's hugging the person in the chair. That's where they put me.
I didn't check on that.
I didn't realise that until I actually left, because I wasn't right. I was having extreme problems.
Right there.
Yeah, exactly. I had money that I wouldn't have spent in the gift shop, and I had stuff that I wouldn't do. That went out the window. My experiences went out the window. I was just wanting to look after myself.
Yeah, you just wanted to get out of there.
So I got up and tried to walk into the right-hand side of the gift shop, and this Wendy grabbed my shoulder, pulled me, literally forced me back in and said, no, and pushed me back into the chair with this scary thing behind me. So I'm like sitting there going, what the effing doobie? And she said, the museum doesn't want you here. So I'm like, oh yeah, I just need water.
I just need to go then, surely.
Yeah, I just want to go outside. I just want to leave. I just want to go. Zach had gone through the door. I just wanted to leave. I'm sweating. I'm uncomfortable. And then I got up. I said, and somebody said, oh, I did the thing where I said I need a cigarette. As soon as I mentioned I needed a cigarette, security was at the door. They opened the door, and I was talking to this security guy, and I was having a cigarette outside of the Haunted Museum. And it was only when I stood outside that I realised that I'd not gone round half of the attractions, which are the supposed major haunted attractions. I'd literally only gone through 3 rooms. There was another hour from that point where I was before they came out to where they met me in the car park at the other side. So I didn't even get halfway round.
Bloody Nora.
There's a funny feeling in the museum, but the worst thing about it was, which the only people that know this are the people that were there in Vegas with me. For the next 4 nights, I don't have nightmares. I don't have night tremors. I don't do anything. Once I'm in bed, I sleep. But for 4 nights, I woke the other people in the room that were in beds that were with us, and I woke them up at 4:22 every single night for the next 4 nights, screaming the house down, saying there was a little boy in the room. For 4 nights.
That's a bit weird.
I am not saying that's related to the museum, but 4 days later, I was sat at the bar at the Luxor, at the Aurora bar, which was the bar we all went at before everybody came in. I'd ordered myself a drink. I was like having a few. I was having a laugh. I was doing what I was when you do on holiday. Went to my wallet to pay for the drinks, and I found the card which came out of the machine when we first entered the museum.
Mm-hmm.
So I pulled it out and thought it was money. I thought it was some dollars, and I thought, oh, that's not dollars. And I read it, and it said, and it's somewhere. Hang on, where is it? Hang on, 2 seconds.
Oh, it's in his wallet.
It's here somewhere.
Bear with us, callers.
Hang on, here we go. Yeah, if anybody can see this, I'm reading it now, but it says, the little child that will materialise will feel normal, but don't believe the nightmares. It can cause heart attacks.
Oh, but you did not read that when you were there.
No, I didn't. No. It literally, I thought it was a heart. No, nobody read it. Nobody read it. And I read it 4 days later in the bar because I went to my wallet, pulled my wallet out. I went to pay for some drinks. 4 days after the nightmares, and everybody were talking about it, and everybody had done the whole museum. There was other weird and wonderful things that happened in the museum with other people there. But to be truthfully honest, if you believe in the paranormal and you're surrounded by people that are majorly into the paranormal, such as the group we were with, it's going to happen with those people.
Mm-hmm.
But on a personal level, I was the first person to pull $1 out of my pocket. I got this card at the Zoltan machine, exact voice and blah, 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 blah. Never read it, put it straight in my wallet. I only pulled the money out to pay for a drink 4 days later, and I'd had nightmares for 3 days. And somebody that was in the same room as me, we were in 2 double beds and stuff like that, and I scared the shit out of them because I woke up at the same time for 3 nights screaming. There was a little boy in the corner of the room. And then I was buying a round of drinks in the bar, at the Aurora Bar in the Luxor, pulled my wallet out, went to pull out some money. There was a Zoltan card. I went, okay, fair enough. Threw it on the bar, paid for the drinks, picked it up, read the card, and I went, hang on, that makes sense.
Ooh.
So I then passed it round to the people that were there who had experienced what had happened with me, and they went, that's freaky coincidence. Not saying it means anything, but nobody knew I had the nightmares. Only 2 other people knew I had the nightmares. Nobody knew that I had chest pains, and I heard the women's laugh at the front of the stairs. Nobody knew that I'd met Zach in the corridor because he was coming through because he was doing shit down the stairs. So I was away from everybody else in the group. So you start then. It's a bit like what Ashley would describe as putting a jigsaw together.
Okay.
You put those points. Yeah.
So, this seems like a good point to leave the pop-up show and do a continuation this time next week. Okay, on the Vegas trip, because this is just like one of the things that happened. We're going to explore this in greater depth next week.
This is before the wedding, and
this is all before everything else that happened at Vegas. Yeah, right.
This is quite before the crazy stuff that happened after Vegas.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to leave the pop-up show on a cliffhanger, I would say, and leave you with that in your little brains to dissect and think about. Join us this time, or 10 o'clock, or 9 o'clock, whatever time we go live next Friday evening. I will make sure that you're all aware of that. On the Parasearch Radio group page, we have a competition running at the moment for 2 books. All you have to do is like the post and comment your name to be part of that competition. If you've missed any of our shows, don't forget our YouTube channel. Click like, share and subscribe. And on top of that, if you want any questions for Carl regarding this experience, send me a message and I will ask them next week. On that note, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you very shortly for part 2 of Vegas Special. Good evening. Say good evening, guys.
Bye.
Good night, guys.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.